Hello. For those of you that watch the channel or watch my videos, I started this kind of at the wrong time of year. Really, I've been started this whole project roughly 2 years ago, and my goal is to build a cottage. So I'm trying to build a road around the edge of the lake to the far side where the water's a bit deeper, and that's the location for the cottage. I did a video, I think, where I went out to that spot as well, but anyway, so I broke this project up into about 3 phases, really, or 3 sections of the roadway. So first section brings me about to the halfway point, which is roughly the creek. The second half kind of takes me from the creek to the build site, and then the build site itself was kind of the third phase. I do also have to build a bridge across the creek at some point, so that's probably a little project on its own. But what I thought I'd do is kind of walk you through what I've done so far, like what's happened with my road. And I think I have some footage of a walkthrough I did when we first got the place, so I can kind of maybe throw them up side by side and you can see the progress, and I'll speak a little bit to the areas as I get to them, and then hopefully moving forward I can have a little more footage of the areas as I work on them. So this is the start, basically. This first section here was actually very like wet and mucky. You can sort of see, the water just kind of like seeps through the ground, sort of completely saturated. So I did install this culvert just sort of here. I installed it away from the roadway because it's not really a like a maintained road with a proper ditch area, and the way that they sort of plow and stuff, I didn't want my ditch getting affected at all. So I made a bit of a settling pond kind of here, and then it feeds its way back down to the creek over there, so it kind of eventually makes its way through. But I did end up building a base here first with collecting rocks from different areas and just kind of getting a good base. And then when I had a load of aggregate dropped basically on here and sort of spread out, pushed back a bit, and then a second load dropped kind of in around here, which I kind of flattened out with the tractor. But this section's been great. It's you can see how much higher up I am here. Probably raised it up a good 2 feet in this little section here to make it passable with the vehicles. So if we carry on here, I didn't have to do a ton of work on this actual like road area. This was the first part of the skidder trail. I did a little bit of clearing here, but most of this was actually clear too, and that's where I've been getting my guy to drop the aggregate. Shout out to Tony. It's been great having him bring stuff out for me here. And then I started clearing this side a bit more recently. I'm going to flatten it out and take all the roots out with the thing, and I'll probably get some more stuff, or just use it as a bit of a staging area. But if I continue down here, it's my beams that I've got for the bridge. Still TBD on the whole plan for that, but at least I got the beams now. It's a little rock area here. This is where the first couple loads he dumped by mistake. I wasn't very clear, I guess, on where I wanted them dumped, but no big deal. So I was able to pull them off of here, and this will be kind of like a parking area really for any vehicles that don't want to come all the way in or can't come all the way in. And I might park my my truck there too eventually. So anyway, so then the next trouble section was just down here. It was another low spot. Wasn't horrible, but it was definitely low and mucky. So I ended up installing another culvert here. And to get these culverts up here, actually I had to, I brought them up in the trailer, but I had to get them cut in half. And then I brought the, I bought a sort of joiner or connector piece as well for them. And then I just would reattach them and then put them in. I have a piece left over that I can kind of show you, but this pondy area here was always, you know, mostly full of water during the year, but it does actually pretty much drain all the way out. I don't really care if it drains out or not, so I didn't bother, you know, clearing it too far. I left a bit of a dam there, but anyway, so the extra water overflow will come down here, and then it flows its way into the creek, and you can see the edge of the lake out there a bit too. So this area, I didn't have anything dropped here. I think this is just me bringing loads over with the bucket and the tractor. And this is the hill. I've got to add a little bit of dirt in a few spots here just to raise this up. I may end up putting a lot of loads in here to get this whole area raised out to take out some of the steepness of this hill. But if I work my way up here to the top, I did at one point try to see if I could cut the horn off of the top of this and maybe just sort of smooth it out. But I dug all around, you know, both sides of this area, and this is a pretty big rock. Well, not rock, it's basically like, you know, mountain. It's not really something I can pull out. I would have to get a rock breaker and break it up, which I may do. There's a few spots that I've got rocks that I wouldn't mind just breaking up, so I might need to rent like an excavator with a real breaker on it. I did buy a little one that I've tried to use, but it's you know, this is full-on rock, full-on mountain rock here. So the other option I was thinking about is maybe having the road kind of skirt that way a bit and come down, just to see if I could flatten it out, because it doesn't seem to be as high as this area. So I might be able to get that area there a bit lower and then kind of make it fade its way in. So any cars that are coming up that don't, you know, can't make the sort of steepness of this road, could maybe take the sort of side path there. But anyway, it's not a problem for now. My vehicles can get up here no problem. So this is a little sort of offshoot where I've got some stuff up there. It's where the outhouse is kind of way up there as well. But yeah, just more cleared that trail. Again, it was, you know, the trail was already kind of there, just a lot of growth, so you just had to trim up all the growth from it. And I have not done much to this section here at all. It's been holding up okay so far. I'm a little worried about the traffic on it, you know, wrecking the top layer of stability and making it all kind of mucky, so I might put a layer. There's my tent and my temporary shelter area that I've got going on while I'm working on the road here. And like I said, I might need to add more, maybe get this ridge taken out here a little bit. And this section here, this is one of those sections where I thought I was kind of done already, so I'm kind of moved on to another section, and then just going back and forth over top of it, end up, like, you know, digging in, making ruts, making mud, and having to kind of come back and add more. So you'll see, you know, I've got kind of rocks all over the place, and I just kind of keep having to circle back. It's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back sometimes, with the progress here as you drive on the area more with the tractor, and it just ends up wrecking spots you thought were you know, ready, and then you end up having to do more work on them. A couple weeks ago I did more clearing here. I'm gonna take this top layer off and maybe use some of this sand to fill in a few areas. Sand's tough though, because it just ends up turning into you know, a mud pit when it gets wet. So I got to make sure that's a high and dry kind of location, otherwise I could end up regretting dropping that down. And this area does need a bit more work. I might just end up putting more like of a top layer on it at this point, because the actual road is in pretty decent shape here. And that's just an offshoot, another sort of old skidder trail that I did a little bit of clearing. It goes in, you know, a little ways. It's collecting firewood and stuff up there. But it doesn't really lead anywhere yet, and it eventually all connected around, so it, you know, hooks up to another trail. But so this is the tough area. This is a area was basically about 2 feet lower than it is now, and just a complete muddy mess. Like, there was just no way you were getting through here. So this project basically took me pretty much all of last year. I started it, you know, the year before, probably in the fall, and got a little ways, and then spent most of the summer working on this little section. And I think I finally got to the end of it just by the end. So maybe about a solid year of time that I spent when I was up here. You know, every time I come up, basically on the weekends, a couple hours, you know, a day at least, working on it, and then and have other, you know, things that I was kind of doing as well. But this was the majority of my time spent here. So what I ended up doing was I would go out onto the road or other places on the property, and I'd find these big boulders, you know, like probably, you know, bigger than what I could move essentially with my own hands. So, you know, good 2 by 2 foot by 2 foot kind of sizes, and roughly around there. And I'd throw those down first. So those are the base layer on the very bottom, and then I would start throwing in these other sort of medium-sized rocks that I would get. And then from my aggregate pile as well, I got the guy to bring me one that was more rocky, so had more bigger rocks in it. So I get, like, you know, ones like this. And some of these over here came from that. And so I was able to hand pick those out, filling my bucket full of just rocks, dumping those down first, and then, you know, on top of that I would then lay this sand, or the final aggregate that I had at the end. So I still need to sort of lay a surface layer on top of this, and it's definitely like a one-way, you know, one car at a time kind of situation. But you know, it's high and dry now, and that's the key. You can see here it's very, very wet in there, and that was just basically the same over here in the tracks. So I put, this was the spot where the water seemed to naturally flow through, like from that area to this area. The rest was all, like, you know, ruts and stuff. So this is where I installed the culvert. In hindsight, I probably should have used the full length like I did everywhere else, but I decided to sort of, you know, cheap out a bit and just use half, like the half width that I got. You can see the other half up there. I'll try to use somewhere else. So it is wide enough to pass. I'm gonna add some big rocks on the side here, so when I do my surface covering, then I've got that area a bit covered. And I'll fill in a bit more here, but it is wide enough. I think these are, I can't remember now. Is it 10 feet? Were they 20 feet long each? 10-foot halves? Can't remember now. But anyway, that's a pretty good width. It is a bit sort of shifted to the side, you know, the right side. So I need to make sure I fill in, you know, really good on the other side here, just so there's enough room to pass. And I might put some stakes, you know, in the ground there too, just to make sure cars are lining up in the middle. But yeah, so that was a pretty tough section. And then as I get up here, it starts to go uphill again. I did add, you know, quite a bit of aggregate to this area, just to sort of like flatten this out, because it came down pretty tight and then straightened out. Oh, and there's the attachment piece to attach those together. So I'll probably end up, you know, buying a bit more, and then I'll maybe cut. I was thinking, like, if I get more halves like this, I just need, like, this one in half, and then I could use, you know, the extra, whatever it is there, 5 feet on top of the normal half, and that'll give me plenty of width, and I'll just use those. So that's my current thinking, is I'll get one more cut in half, and then one of the halves cut in half. Be able to do that. But anyway, so didn't do much work here actually. Like once I was through this section, which, you know, again took me almost a year. Once I got through this section, I think it was that same weekend of one day I got to the end here, and so I finished it off, and then the next day I basically, you know, got all the way up to the creek. Like, there was just little trees. I ended up, you know, trimming a bunch of stuff. It wasn't perfect, and I've still been working on it since, but I was able to actually like drive the tractor up there, whereas I, you know, I couldn't do that on the other side, you know. So still need more work here. Obviously I've been dropping loads to sort of you know, flatten, you know, any place that's kind of wet. I may have to do some ditching or something along the edge here just to help the water stay off the road. This area is obviously very mucky, so I need to add more stone or rocks or something to this. But it is very, very early spring right now too. It actually snowed last night. It's mid-April, so you know, it's shouldn't be really seeing much in the way of snow these days, but being early spring with the, you know, high precipitation and everything, it's everything's wet, and so it's not a great time to be riding on these kind of roads like this, like with a tractor, which obviously you can see I was doing yesterday. But anyway, so I got all the stuff off the main part of the road, but I haven't like widened it or, you know, even trimmed the sides yet. In theory, this is, you know, navigable from a vehicle perspective, but I probably will fix it up a bit. And that brings us down to the top of the peak here, where I'm going to head down now to the creek. But I did end up, you know, clearing a bunch of this area as well. I've got, you know, slash piles pretty much all over the place up here too to burn. I'm thinking I'll just create a big pit in the middle there, and then get a lot of this stuff burnt. But that's a chore, like dealing with these slash piles. I don't know what other people do with their piles of slash, but burning it is a chore. I've got piles everywhere, and it's just they're hard to deal with. So part of me is thinking I'll just, you know, collect them up and move them somewhere where they're kind of out of sight, out of mind, and let them just, you know, biodegrade on their own. But the ones that are kind of like in here in the middle that are ready to burn, you know, I might just throw a big pit in the middle there and burn them. But it's definitely not convenient in any way. So, but anyway, so the last section here of the section 1, so the end of the road, or end of the section 1 of the road to the creek, brings me down this hill. Again, not ready yet, but I can at least ride on it with the tractor. I need to add more aggregate in a few spots to build it up. There's some really big rocks on the side here, which I had to add quite a bit of rock to sort of, you know, level those off. So I have done quite a bit of work in this area, and it is, you know, you can drive on it now with the tractor. I could probably even bring my car down here. It's not really that bad, but I do need to just fix it up more, and I need to worry about the drainage, because I do get water collecting, I think, right there. So I probably need to build that up, maybe have an off ditch or something there just to allow water to go out. But yeah, this brings me to the end of section 1 and the creek. I got my temporary walking bridge there. This is actually, you know, decent enough to drive through. I could, you know, take the tractor or the side-by-side through the creek there, no problem. And then, you know, I started working up on the second section. But for this video, I just wanted to go through the section 1 of the roadway, and I did do another section actually of the walk through all the way out for section 2. What's to come, but so you can go find that if you're interested. But anyway, that's it for this one. So thanks for watching. Bye.